Welcome, everyone. I'm really honored to be here today. I was really surprised to be asked by you to be presenting here today because, of course, you're all software developers in a really specific field. So I'm trying to bring today to you a fresh perspective, a new perspective on technology as well as your daily work. I'm the founder and CFO of AI and Robotics. It's a startup here in Berlin, and we're developing and manufacturing mobile robots. So anything that moves around on wheels, on 4 legs, on 2 legs, we develop because we really think that's the future of technology. My background is AI research, especially embodied AI research, and I really realized after doing that and being in academia for some years that the theoretical side is not really matching what is going up out there, and what the software developers especially experiencing, and what kind of decisions they have to make on a daily basis. So I decided to found a company. We're in 2 years. We're launching our bipedal robot soon, so really exciting times to be around, and I will hopefully get some new thoughts to you today. So my topics always have been the big topics. So how can we make everyone can make the best out of our lives, out of being part of this kind of society and solving the biggest issues? And I think everyone has an own opinion and an own take. And especially when it comes to AI and robotics, there are a lot of things, potentials, but also risks that technology has when you think about different kind of challenges we all face. A really big one is climate change, as well as, for example, labor shortage. And we already heard in the introduction, everyone is talking about AI. What is happening with all the people working in kind of repetitive jobs? And I actually hired someone for our company, and she has 2 kids. And I was like, okay, what's your connection to technology? Because she's from the business side. And she was like, okay, I'm teaching my children right now all the skills they need in order to be part of the future, where probably AI is better than them in many different things. And of course, AI has limitations, and that's where robotics comes in place. And when you combine them both, I will go here to the next slide. When you combine them both, I think something really interesting happens, that you give a physical presence to AI, and then they learn things they couldn't learn before. In the philosophy, we talk about, for example, qualia. That's a really interesting experiment, and it answers the question if doing something is the same thing as knowing about how it is doing something. So maybe I will start a little bit earlier. So we all have known about the Industrial Revolution, what machines did for all of our society, and everything we have, our worth as an economy right now is based on the invention of machines and later on robots. And to understand what AI and robots is, I think we have to go back a little bit and understand that their machines have been out there doing kind of specific tasks. And then the idea of an intelligent machine came, where then robots have been invented. And then later AI saying, okay, we want to have or mimic human intelligence. And that's maybe a really interesting point when we talk about AI. And I go a slide back. When we talk about AI, that is not really intelligence we're talking here about. We're talking about machine learning. We're talking about deep learning. I think it's something you all are very, already know about. But I think what can be a unique perspective is saying, okay, what are we aiming for? What is really human intelligence like? And why do we think that this kind of cognitive abilities AI can provide us now are having such a big impact on us? So what I already mentioned a little bit, physical embodiment of AI. Give it a physical presence. you're able to interact with the real world. And I think, for example, when you have a robot going around with different kind of sensors, they're gathering a lot of data, which is really great for different kind of companies we're working with, but also, of course, really, really risky. You maybe saw some robots in China in the COVID pandemic going around capturing data of people that are not really in line with the regulations, are outside when they have been a lockdown. And I think we all have to come together that this kind of technologies are not used in this kind of ways, for example, in Germany or in Europe. And also when we talk about the EU AI Act, this is also something that affects us, that affects many kind of companies that are out there. And yeah, we have to think like how much regulation is important and what does it support us and how does it limit us. My CTO says, why does it matter? It helps to identify the alignment problem. I think that's more of a technical perspective, saying, okay, when you implement a code, of course, it can work, it cannot work. But when you implement it on the robot, you immediately see what it does. And of course, in the worst case, it can hurt someone. So it matters a lot that it really works well, and we have like a great team working on that every day. But of course, when it comes to possibilities, when you think about the health sector, it's really, really interesting what they can do, but also, what they're lacking of. So, ethical consideration. What can we do? Of course, ensure that the safety and security features are in place, that hacking is not something that can actually happen to that, as well as reducing the resource consumption. And I think that is all about AI and robotics and technology we use every day to also think about the resource consumption. And I actually was part of an event 2 weeks earlier where someone presented that actually when you train your model, for example, in summer where you can use a lot of solar energy, it has much lower impact on the resources than when you train it in winter. And I thought it's a really interesting idea, and everyone asked, okay, should I train my models in summer? And she was like, no, but maybe you can train your models there where it is summer at the time, for example, in more southern countries. But just being open for different kind of perspectives and angles to be part of a positive change. And I think that's also one really interesting point. Be based on clear consent and respect privacy. I wrote a paper about data security in healthcare and how it prevents actually any innovation of happening there. So right now, for example, you have to anonymize data in order to use it in machine learning. And when it comes to health data, for example, X-rays, you have the X-rays of one person. You can delete the name, but it's still their X-ray. So it's actually really, really difficult to ensure that. And I think at some point, we all have to think like how much we want to give our data to this kind of sources in order to enable innovation. And especially in healthcare, when it's about your own health or the health of your loved ones, I think that's really is really important there that we have these discussions. Also, potential harm to humans, animals, environment. I think everyone knows like the robot laws, that they are not allowed to harm anyone, or like the science fiction kind of movies, and that's also my vision. Someone asked me why do I work with robots, and I had like many technical reasons for that, because I think it's fascinating. But in the end, for me, it's freedom. For me, when I come home, I have a vacuum robot, I have a lawn robot, whatever, I have a washing machine, whatever. I can decide for my own what I want to do with my life. Could I have machines to help me with my daily life? And I think that is what technology means for many people, especially in our countries, but maybe not mean for people in other countries. Considering the long-term societal impact, I was presenting one of our robots to a school class in Sweden, and I thought like everyone is interested in robots because they're cool. But actually, what we spoke about the most are what will it mean to interact with robots on a daily basis, to have some kind of relationship with them. And then I remembered one of my papers that I said, okay, it will change how people interact with each other. Because of course, when, for example, you treat a robot badly and say, okay, it's funny because like my CTO always, when he uses ChatGPT, that says, thank you, and please do that and that. I'm like, why do you do that? He's like, okay, when AI takes over the world, he will be nice to me. So, but that's a really interesting example. So the way we interact with technology will have an impact on the way we interact with each other. And I think that will change how we perceive the interaction, as well as what it means to be human. It doesn't mean anymore to be intelligent. It means to maybe be nice, empathetic, open, understanding. And we all have to know that in order to also sell our value to our next employee, for example. Say, okay, what can you do that a machine can't do? Yeah, I also looked a little bit in the future. Most of the things I talked about have been are important right now, but we also have to think where we will be in 5, 20, or 200 years. I'm speaking with a lot of like CEOs of like Mittelstand companies here in Germany, and they all say, okay, 50% of the people working for me probably have to go because it's going to be more automized. And I think that's pretty sad. And I asked him, do these people know about that? He's like, no, because they'll probably not want to work anymore for me. It's like, okay, that's probably some kind of moral dilemma there. But of course, we have to include these people and see where we will go. And then we can talk about, for example, a wage for everyone that is like independent of work, but also really seeing what is the value of human work. And that is what will probably happen in 5 years. In 20 years, the AI or even robots will more and more understand its environment and will make decisions on their own. And we see that with the trolley problem or autonomous cars already. That is scaring for many people, but also, of course, a lot of potential there, that we don't have to code everything, that we don't have to decide everything, but we have machines doing that. And that's also, for my first slide, everyone knows this kind of deep learning kind of black box problem that we don't really know what will it decide. And I think we all have to think about putting systems in place that will make sure that it makes the right decision and what is the right decision. Especially like in a trolley problem, we people are biased, and we are used to biased decisions around us. And the trolley problem is a really, really interesting example for that, saying, okay, we'll drive over either an old woman or like a child, for example, when you're in the car. 200 years. I think we are going more and more, especially when you look at Neuralink that our CTO has worked for in the past, for example, that the combination of human and machine will not be clear anymore. And that we all have some kind of enhancements done. That opens a completely new kind of topic of enhancements and ethical considerations there. But I think what is really the key there is, I think now to decide if we want to go that road or we don't want to go, because everyone has their own kind of ideas there, and also opinions, and I think they matter, and we shouldn't put that all into American companies, for example. And that's also the one reason I thought, okay, when we want to have change and we want to have products that actually are beneficial for us all, and also are inclusive and diverse, we have to do it here and now and not wait until a big American corporation will do that. And it's tough. It's really, really tough to start a company here in Berlin or in Germany. But I really see that it makes a change by even being here and telling you all about what I'm doing every day. So yeah, how will it actually transform our future? That was what I'm already talked a little bit about. Consciousness, of course, is also a very interesting topic to say, will we be able to create a synthetic consciousness? There are different takes on that, and I will not tell you what my take is, but it's definitely something that we have to understand, and that's where neuroscience comes in place, to understand how the human brain works, or even how physics works, and generally, like, my father is a physicist, and I've always been super intrigued by his work. And I talked with some people here today, and what are we doing in our company is combining software development with science, with physics, with mathematics, to actually see the boundaries of what technology can do. And I think when we talk about creating a synthetic consciousness, that's what maybe comes at the end. Yeah, enable research and development, and it will transform the way we live and work. And how we work, I already talked about, but also live. Maybe you see that kind of examples already in your daily life. So what can we all do, can companies do, in order to enable this kind of positive future? I draw here a little bit. Ensure that the development and use of AI is fair, safe, and benefits the society as a whole. But also investing more resources into diverse founders. And that's what I don't hear a lot about when it comes to AI development. But I think it's key to for us, it's key to go in schools, to go in kindergartens, to go in universities, to actually train new people. And I really would encourage every one of you to just support everyone around you to get more understanding about technology, about what you do, what is maybe will be there in the future. For example, when I think about my parents, they have some problems with interacting even with a phone. It's really, really challenging to tell them about everything that will be coming. But I think it's worth it. It's really worth it to speak with these people and having an impact. And that's also what I'm trying to achieve here today, to just have some thoughts, taking them home, discussing them with people around you, and and together then make a decision of how we want to face all these kind of challenging things in the future. But also improving the accuracy of forecasts. I think like everyone who has been working on singularity hypothesis, what I have been working on, I think this is key, that we don't really know what's happening tomorrow, in 1 year, in 5 years, how fast it is progressing. And every time it expands our forecasts. And I have the feeling that we're not really learning out of that. So putting more research into that as well, also in the business. Of course, like some people told me, I really want to understand how it is from an entrepreneurial perspective to use AI, to have or use robots or work on that. And I think knowing about what comes in the future, and I hear some, for example, of investors we're speaking about too, they're like, okay, robots are interesting, but I think they're coming in like 10 years. And like, okay, interesting forecast, probably not. And I'm mostly combining or like seeing the same things as with AI 10 years ago. You're speaking with AI and the people are like, okay, that's cool, I don't really know how to use it, what it is, if it has an application. And the same thing is with robotics right now. The people are like, okay, AI is out there, it's really interesting, but what comes next? And as I already said, we think that robotics will be like one major part of that, and even finding people for us. I think we are going into a bipedal robot now, have controls engineering, and there are only, I don't know, 20, 30 people out there that really know how to make a bipedal robot walk. And that's impressive. Like, we are working like with MIT, with big universities, because the group of people knowing this kind of stuff is really, really small. So I also would encourage you to use all the tools you have there to work on your knowledge, work on different kind of technologies, also ML, start your own ML projects, to be one of these people in the forefront of new technologies, because all of the companies are looking for that, all the investors are looking for that. And I think that's also one of the key features. And of course, legal framework. I don't know if you have followed all the discussions regarding AI Act, AI EU Act. That's really interesting sides. There are people really against it and really for it. And I think, of course, they're trying to regulate something that don't really understand. They're politicians, but also I know, for example, the chairman of the KI-Bundesverband, who's lobbying for startups, for every kind of technology company out there for AI. And they're saying, okay, people don't really understand it, because the people making the decisions are lawyers, are politicians. So also encourage every one of you to just think about how they can transform their knowledge to these people making these decisions. Because else we would just like keep these decisions to people who never touched any kind of code in their life. And we all know how this can end. But also, creating a monopoly. When we talk about risks of AI, for us, the biggest risk of AI is having too big of general, I would say, general AIs in the hand of big corporations that no one really knows what they're doing there, as well as what is the impact, what kind of technologies they use, what kind of data they use. And I think we have to diverse it and having different kind of stakeholders there. Yeah, that's kind of my last slide. What do we do? I think responsibilities on any kind of layer, responsibility of your own work, responsibility of how you talk to people about the work you do, about your opinion, about any company decisions you do, diversities from different perspectives, as well as the high standards. Of course, you can have the best ideas, and that happens when I started companies. I was like, okay, I really want to make a change. I'm really curious what lays ahead of me, and then there came reality and hit me, and I was like, okay, probably it will not work how I thought it will, because only really good products and really outstanding technology can be the biggest change that we can see when we have these technologies here from Europe, here from Germany, and not only all these kind of high-level ideas how it should be, but actually showing the people that we can do it. And you can only build great products with great people, and I think that's even more important, that we all have to take care of each other. As well, having diversity in backgrounds, when we believe that change can be only achieved when all parts of society come together. That's also why we came here together. So I'm really curious for all of you to just get into talking and challenge yourself and challenge your thoughts about what it means to be human, what is AI, what can robots do in the future, what is your part there, especially when it comes to coding. I think like many things can be automated already, so be sure of your value. I think everyone have some there. I think that was mostly what I wanted to say. I'm really curious. I will be here around for any kind of feedback on criticism, as well as like maybe some input or ideas you have. I'm also, of course, I'm happy to connect on any kind of social media if you want, and just be out there. And I really wish you all a really productive day, and I hope this was a really good start, a fresh start for your Wednesday and all the sessions to be coming today. thanks so much.
Thank you very much. Elisa, stay here, stay here. I just wanted to ask you a question, because we still got time. Thank you so much. I wanted to just discuss one question, because when it comes to AI and robotics, many people have kind of these anxious feelings, right, about what will come and what will this happen. And you mentioned in one slide, it is also about redefining or really understanding what it means to be human, right? And what do you think? Because usually when we talk about technologies, we think about those future technologies from today's perspective, but without thinking about that we are going to change as well.
Yeah.
How would you describe those dialectics?
Yeah. Yeah, what it means to be human, I think, I don't know, probably most of you saw maybe the movie Her. It's really interesting, maybe you also. Yeah, I think right now we are kind of claiming, and it's like kind of saying it's the era of humans. We're kind of claiming that you're most the intelligent ones. And it's actually quite interesting. We saw a podcast with Lex Friedman and like one of AI safety researchers, and he was like, okay, what are you eating? And he's like, yeah, I'm vegetarian. And he's like, why are you vegetarian? And he was like, okay, because the way we treat things we think are less intelligent right now is really scary when we think we're right now creating a system that is much more intelligent as we are. Mm-hmm. So thinking about how we treat people less intelligent, or what it doesn't mean to be intelligent, and also what makes worth, right? For example, when we think about animals. So yeah, we will see how it all goes, but I think we have to be more cautious about that we are not being in the forefront of any kind of developments, and the people are not the peak of evolution, and we're right now overriding what it means to be human, and transforming that more, as I said, in 200 years into technology. Yeah. So
please be nice and polite to AI. Right?
Yeah, please say please when you write to ChatGPT, not just a joke, but just be cautious about what kind of world do you want to live, or your kids want to live in. And I think that's something we, especially when I talk to all the tech people, they are like, we just want to make what's possible and have a lot of fun. It's like, I'll totally get that, make that, but just please be aware that you're the ones defining how the future look like.
Cool. Thank you very much, Elisa Czerski.